Welcome to Centered Presents The Future of Health. Join me, Christina along with Dr. Molly Brown, as we dive deep into the world of brain-based wellness.
In each episode, we will explore cutting-edge insights and practical techniques that empower you to achieve optimal health and super high-energy living.
Tune in and start your journey toward a healthier, more vibrant you.
Welcome to our podcast. Centered Presents The Future of Health explores solution and results-based care. This podcast showcases the career of Stephen Nyman, a U.S. ski team and World Cup downhill ski racer with an exceptionally long 21-year career on the U.S. ski team. Throughout his career, Stephen has become a treasure of information on recovery from career-ending injury, optimizing performance, and positive, proactive lifestyle choices. His intentional approach is the future of sports performance. We love discussing with Stephen his love of natural health, nutrition, and incorporating innovative methods such as the AMIT method. Listen in as he tells us the power of healing through human connection, how he maintained a career through several career-ending injuries, and how he pushed his limits of performance through self-inquiry. This type of dedication takes an athlete to a high level of sport, allowing for longevity and resilience through injury. As we look towards the future of healthcare, a future that empowers individuals, prevents chronic illness and pain, regulates and calms the nervous system, positive, inspired role models like this have the ability to change the world of sport. Stephen's future in roles yet undiscovered to impact the trajectory of youth and professional sports is bright. Please enjoy our episode with myself, Christina and Stephen Nyman.
Welcome to Centered Presents The Future of Health. And on today's episode, we are lucky enough to have Stephen Nyman, an exceptional skier who was on not only the U.S. ski team, you went to 3 Olympics, and you were on the world teams as well. Am I correct?
Yeah, I was on 7 or 8 world teams, qualified for 4 Olympics, blew my knee right before the 4th. So that was kind of a bummer. But yes, I made the U.S. ski team in 2002, and I was on the ski team till 2023, recently retired. I'm from Sundance, Utah, and that's been my life thus far. It's quite a tale of longevity, and I faced my fair share of injuries and comebacks, and hopefully I can shed some light on you.
We're really excited to have you because you have used a lot of the work that I use in my clinic throughout your career. So our mission is to, get a lot of this work out there. I feel like so often nowadays, I don't even see athletes get through their high school career.
It's tough. After I broke my leg in 2004, I had a rod put in, a rod taken out. I was essentially trying to go through the steps that the ski team was providing me to come back from such an injury. I'd never broken a bone in my body, and I was in pain, just constant pain. And I was like, this is it. This is over. I can't do this. I don't understand. It's not fun, number one. I'm in so much pain, and I fudged my way through their back to snow protocol, but I got on snow, and I was just like, I'm not going to be fast. This isn't going to be fun. Do I have to just bear this? And I had a couple friends tell me about Dr. Buhler and his work, AMIT. And finally, I was just like, I'll try it. Tora Bright, who is an Olympic gold medalist snowboarder, her sister talked to me, and I said, okay, I'll go.
How old were you at the time?
I was 22. And I went in not able to do a single leg squat. Basically, you have to do 30 seconds of single leg squats with weight to pass these tests to get back on snow. And I just compensating and twisting, and I made it happen, but it just was pain the entire time. I go into Dr. Buhler, and he explains some stuff to me, starts doing some work, and he said, get off the table, try a single leg squat. Completely pain-free. And I was just like, what? I've been wasting the past year trying to come rehab from this thing, and I'm fine. This is amazing. And so I was sold right then and there.
You mentioned that the team had you on a specific protocol of their choosing. What were some of those modalities and techniques they wanted you to try to heal?
They have all kinds of stuff that they use, but it wasn't really outside of the box. It was simple ice, stim, rehab, just do these little exercises, very linear, just do your clamshells, do your little exercises that basically promote compensation patterns, and it should be fine, and you should heal with time. And I was healed according to the x-rays, but I was in complete pain. If this was my patella, I did it in Europe. So typically in the US, they kind of fold the patella to the side and they nail the rod through the tibia, and then they take it back out. Well, in Europe, they cut down the center of my patella and inserted it like through the center, and then that healed together. And that was painful. I think the rod was actually rubbing on my knee. So they pulled that out, but in the US, they folded it to the side and pulled it out. So I had all kinds of scar tissue. And so they tried this technique where they just basically got a needle and broke up the scar tissue all on the patella to make it better and create healing again. But I didn't really need the healing. I needed the function. And the function essentially came from AMIT. And essentially reminding your body of what it's capable of. And everybody's body is capable of performing properly if given the right material and reminded of how it's supposed to work. And the way Dr. Buhler describes it is essentially reconnecting a circuit breaker, just reminding like your brain, like, hey, this is here. This muscle is here. This muscle is intended for use. You've just short-circuited it a little bit, and we'll fix it.
Yeah, the AMIT work is incredible. Do you think, again, you said you found the work when you were around 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you had a very long, successful career. Do you think you were addressing issues from the past and then like moving forward, it allowed you to heal quicker and continue your journey?
Actually, I lied. That was the second bone I broke. 2 days after I was named to the US ski team, I broke my opposite ankle skateboarding. So after he focused on that injury, which was essentially my latest injury, it was pretty wild. He just started unfolding me and my history, and it was I told him nothing. I gave him no history of what I'd been through aside from breaking that leg initially. And he moved to my back, and then he moved to my other ankle, and then he just went through time, and it was wild because I was like, you just retraced my injury history without knowing anything, and my body basically just exposed it to him. And that to me was a sign of the truth of what this did. Obviously, just feeling the difference, stepping off the table and being like, oh, I can go. What another thing that I really enjoyed was it wasn't this rest 2 days and come back and we'll ease into it and see how you feel. He was like, all right, go push it, see if this will hold. And he always just gave me that confidence. The moment I got off the table, I was like, go push it, see if it'll hold, and come back in. So with that, I felt the power and I felt the energy of AMIT, and I felt like, okay, let's go. And I need this tremendously, which I kind of became addicted to. And I'd work out and I'd train really hard, and then I'd drive down. Basically, at that time, it was an hour to go see him, or even more. I lived in Heber, so it was like an hour 10, hour 20. So I was driving 2.5 hours a day to go see this work or do this work, and I was doing that 4 or 5 days a week. And sitting in the car that long is not that good for you. But I was like, oh, I need it. I kept feeling like I needed it. And this is also, I'm young and I'm in a phase of discovery in my training. So I was doing whatever the trainers were telling me to do. And I was trying to keep this into my integrate AMIT into my program. And then I did Pilates once. I got to go do Pilates. I got to go do yoga, and I got to go do these games. And we're like, as athletes, we're golden retrievers, and we just want to do whatever we want to do. And it took me time to essentially learn, okay, and Buhler taught me this, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And you have to really step back and assess yourself that, okay, I can work this hard, but am I recovering this hard? Am I eating this hard? am I getting AMIT done like that hard? So I need to really create a balance. I need to get the sleep. I need to work the maximum amount. I need to feed myself the proper stuff. I need to have the right supplements. And I need to know, like, what am I trying to do? Like, what are my intentions? I'm not just blindly following what some guy told me to do. And once I really had that map set in my head of like what I wanted to do, how was I going to achieve that? I came up with a system of essentially only going on Wednesdays. So I go in on Wednesday. I'd work really hard Monday, Tuesday, which Monday was usually an all body type thing, lower focus, but all body. Then I'd have some sort of long endurance recovery in the afternoon. Tuesdays would be core focused with sprints, some sort of anaerobic work. And then I'd do a long endurance on Wednesday, see Buhler, focus on some rehab stuff. Then I'd repeat the all body stuff Thursday, core Friday, and then a long endurance Saturday, and then rest Sunday. So that would give me the rest on Sunday to helpfully recover, feel good Monday. Unless, I mean, obviously, if there's something that was really bugging me, I'd go in there. But that allowed me to trust myself. And I also made sure I was balanced. Like I'd go in there and he'd say, everything's good, now go for it. And when I started my training, typically in May through August, I was starting from a balanced foundation and building myself physically, not promoting compensation patterns. I knew I was like in a good place. And then I just pushed myself. And most of those summers I'd come in and people would just be like, I can't find anything. You're good, which was really, really cool. But that requires a very solid program that is built and balanced, and you're not kind of building an imbalanced structure.
I think that's one of the most amazing things about the method is that the work holds and you get better and better over time. For me too, when I first found the work, I wanted it all the time, every day. But then as I started feeling really good, you realize you don't need it all the time, right? It just holds and your body continues to get stronger and stronger. After you got the initial batch of work, did you start feeling better than you ever remembered feeling, like even pre-injury?
Definitely. Like I suffered with a lot of back pain, and I've had injuries I shouldn't say injuries, allergies my whole youth. So allergies really kind of wore me down, and this work helped me discover what sort of stress it put on my body, like how it stressed my liver, essentially, and what muscles did that shut down. When I felt my rhomboids getting really tight behind my back, I knew, okay, like something's stressing my liver out. I'm exposing myself to something that's not agreeing with me. And I'd get on N-acetylcysteine or get on some sort of standard process liver support stuff that would keep me in the game. It's funny talking about this stuff and trying to sell it to my teammates. I didn't look at it as my secret weapon. I looked at it as, let's show this to the world, and if I could maximize my teammates' efforts, they're going to help push me to a higher level as well. And it was hard to sell to people, which is so funny. I don't understand. Like typically, most of them live in Park City, and it's 45 minutes to get to them. And I'm like, what? You won't invest in 45-minute drive here and 45-minute drive back, like to change your life? Like people, it blew my mind. But the moment I could get them to the office, they would be like, wow, this is amazing. This is great. And the ski racers that he's seen and skiers he's seen, from Shannon Barkey to Peekaboo Street to Lindsey Vonn, Shaun White, Tommy Ford, all World Cup winners, all American greats. It's changed their life. So,
Well, we do refer to it as kind of we call it a brain-based wellness approach and more holistic. Was that something you grew up open to?
my mom was very health conscious, and we grew a lot of our food in our garden. That was also due to where we lived. We lived in the mountains. Like, we didn't have easy access to food. So, but also we didn't have a lot of money. So that was our approach. But she was very health conscious, and I appreciate learning from her in that sense. So yes, believing that nature can help provide and heal was something that was put in my brain at a young age. But what's beautiful about this work is people heal people, and it's like there are supplements that can help benefit this work. Just physical touch and focus and understanding is the main driver behind this work.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. When I first learned the work, I tried to do it on myself and it didn't work. Like, you need someone else to do it on you. And not everyone's equal with the work. You have to really, I think also, like, when you're working on somebody with this method, with the AMIT method, the more clear you are and the more healthy you are, I think that's a really good point. No one even considers that, but the more you accelerate that for the person you're working on too.
Your energy gets passed on for sure.
Actually, the AMIT work it's unlimited to me because I do a lot of organ and glandular work, and the crossover with every muscle having 2 organs and glands with an acupuncture point adds so much depth to the system. So I think that's interesting that you even started to address your allergies through the work as well. Because a lot of people don't actually use it like that. So we have actually found out that most of the US ski team is apparently in back pain. So did you find that people were open to the back pain is an easy fix for this work? So do you think, like, in the future people are people more open towards natural health at this point?
I think people are trending toward it, but it still blows my mind that people just trust MDs and people just think surgery is the solution and that will fix everything. And I'm like, what? That's my last resource. Like, I do not want to get cut open, and I would try all kinds of stuff before I got cut open to make it happen. And some people they're like, no, this is good. This is how it'll work. And then they do it, and then they're on painkillers for so long. And some got through it, but some are done, and some can figure it out. But I figured out my way, and I learned the work through 20 years of experience. And my last probably 4 or 5 years on the team, I was doing the work on my teammates with the physio. I was teaching my physios how to do the work because I needed the work. And then they would try it on the athlete, and they were blown away. And so I'd go in and help just to make it more efficient. The body positions we put ourselves in, the tuck, the big angles in the low back, there's a lot of force on the back, and the back is kind of our weak point as ski racers. So yes, there's a lot of back pain, but it's funny how they try and fix it, and there's not a lot of thought around it. It's just kind of like, all right, injections, stretching, and some exercise. And it's like, you are just pushing stuff that isn't actually functioning. Like, the muscle is what is the shock absorber that is taking the load off of those ligaments and off of the connective tissue and off of the discs. And if you can make the muscle function, that's going to relieve so much of your pain. And if it continues to come back, all right, let's dive into the organs. Let's look at what is the deeper cause to this. But typically, a lot of ski racers, it's their glutes are out. Pretty simple.
Well, again, I think the cool work about AMIT too is, again, you talk about with whether it's surgery or whatever doctors are recommending, sometimes it's just a Band-Aid to the actual problem. Mm-hmm. And not only is AMIT addressing the issue and solving the problem and not banning it, but it's also a preventative tool for future injury.
To me, I learned so much about my body. And just being able to step back and be like, okay, why were those out? Was it out bilaterally? there's all kinds of stuff I'm saying here that you have to understand by experiencing the work, but like you can step back and look at this puzzle and be like, okay, why is this out? Why is it continuing to go out? Or let's keep digging deeper. Like we fixed that, now the pain shifted over here. Well, let's fix that. Now the pain shifted over here. Now it's gone. Or if it continues, all right, what's going on? So you can just step back, look at yourself, see the big picture, and really address some issues. There was one time where I kept having this continuous knee pain in my, I think it was my rectus femoris was going out, which is associated with the pancreas. And I realized one of the supplements, this protein that I was taking, had sucralose in it, and it was overloading my pancreas and shutting the muscles down. And I had this pain in the top of my kneecap. And once I just kind of flushed that out, took some choline, reset the muscles, no pain anymore. And so now it's like, I got to look at all those little things that are hidden in the ingredients and make sure I'm avoiding the synthetic sugars.
So you've really taken the work to like a really high level. Like obviously you'll be using it with your kids. How old are your kids?
7 and 4. And I already do a little work on my 7-year-old. She's like, Dad, my ankle hurts. Or my back hurts. She fell off the monkey bars the other day. My back hurts, so I'll do a little thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, to take it to that level too, when you're working with the nutrition and the organs and glands, like that's another level. So that's, I mean, you have a wealth of information to pass on.
Well, what that has shown me is the importance of real food, the importance of whole foods, avoiding, like, there's all these fads that are out there on social media, and seed oils or processed foods, or avoid your sugars, or go keto. But this is an affirmation to some of those things. I mean, some people need some of those diets due to however they're built. But in truth, whole foods they reign supreme. Your body really feeds off of that. Good meats, just good high quality grains, gluten-free, I found really makes a difference with me. And the quality of water is a big thing that I've come to attach to very early in my career. I traveled with a Kangen machine all over the world just to make sure my water was filtered properly and alkalized. Alkalized isn't that important, but I thought it helped with my performance.
Did you find that a lot of athletes you surrounded yourself with were as conscious as you are?
No, they thought I was crazy.
The proof is in the pudding with how well you did. And again, your career and how long you were able to sustain the success.
Is it changing now though? It seems like it's a change in.
It's definitely changing. And it's really funny because I tore my left Achilles in 2011. And through that, I actually got into, I was sponsored by Nike for a little while, hated their shoes. My knees hurt. I didn't understand why. Tore my Achilles, tried to figure out, all right, what's a good way to come back? And I found minimalist shoes. And I've been wearing minimalist shoes ever since. Zero drop, wide toe box. And all the guys thought I was crazy. Everybody wears them now. It's hilarious. So,
you're a trendsetter.
it took a good 14 years or 13 years to get them to adhere to it. But Nike's gone down the drain. It's wild. But there is a lot of theories that I discovered and came up with through injury. So injuries, unfortunate, but I also look back at it as a blessing. Like, it allowed me to think a different way and discover a new avenue. And I don't know if Bill's has shown you this, but like when you squeeze, if this is your foot, or you can do it with your hand, when you squeeze your toes together, that weakens your whole being, that weakens your whole system. And in ski boots, everybody's like, they need to be tight, they need to be precise, they need to be quick. No. Like for me, basically, like here back is tight and precise, but my toes are open. And I'm trying to articulate and really move and adjust to everything that's going on the ski hill. And a lot of people are doing that now. I changed the liner in the ski boot. It was just this full leather thing with the very tip, like basically like here to here was neoprene. And I'm like, why there? Like, let's bring it all the way back here. Let's let the toes open up. Every company does that now. It's a lot of the stuff that I learned through this work, I tried integrating into our equipment and heightening my performance.
It is amazing when you have, like, when you get to the feet and the toe muscles, how much they affect your gait and everything. So the AMIT work informed even your ski racing and your equipment.
Oh yeah. And like, yes, your gait, but like the whole chain that's going up your posterior side, like your ability to wrap your calf, like if you are inhibiting any of your feet, that's basically affecting everything up the chain and changing that. Like their backs are probably all up due to their feet. I don't know. I haven't dove into that, but they're just trying to compensate around what they have, but they don't know what they have because they haven't allowed their body to be unleashed, essentially.
You talk a lot about your body and being in tune and in touch and learning and growing from the injuries you've experienced. How do you think mental resilience has played a role in your career?
My last, it was actually breaking this hand. I had 19 screws and 2 plates. That was my final injury. It was a hand. I've torn both Achilles, blown both knees, broken both legs. And a lot of that, you're like, why did you get injured if you're so balanced? But I'm falling out of a 3-story building, hitting a wall going 60 miles an hour. Like it's hard to stay intact doing that. I was a downhill ski racer. So it's a dangerous sport, but all of the injuries that I faced, I came back with and did very well after those injuries. My left knee, I tore in 2017. I did ACL, MCL, PCL, lateral compartment, and I had podiumed on the Olympic course for 2018, and I had a year essentially to come back to get to the Olympics, and I did that with 2 races. I came back for Wengen and Kitzbühel, the 2 hardest races on tour, and I qualified. And then the next race was 364 days later from that injury, same course, like 6 turns further down the course, I fell over and blew my other knee, and ended up missing those 2018 games. That's what I was talking about earlier. But when I would have a big injury, I just call Buhler. He was one of the first people I'd get in touch with, and he's like, all right, we got work, let's go. And he just gave me that confidence because he knew I could come back, and if we stayed on top of it, and I got to the right point. You have to allow your body to heal, but when you start being able to put the work in, you push, and then I would go in, and I would heighten it more than 1 time a week. I would go in and be there 2 to 3 times a week, just making sure everything was balanced, and I was able to continually push day in and day out and see if things are breaking down and just kind of reassess my body every single day.
What a blessing to have people like Dr. Buhler. Sometimes you don't know what you would do, right? Like most likely your career would have been much shorter, correct?
Yeah, probably a couple of years and I would have been out. I look back at it, I was like, wow, I was on the US ski team for 21 years. It's quite incredible. And I won a few World Cups. I was on 11 podiums, and it's 3 Olympics. It's wild. My best world champs result was 4th on home snow in Beaver Creek. Like that was one of the highlights of my career. Yes, I didn't get a medal, but to perform in front of 30,000 people on my home snow and one of the biggest stages, like it's so cool to look back and think, wow, I had the opportunity to really challenge myself in the situations.
Well, it's cool too is again, when you suffer from injury, and a lot of people, you immediately stress and you're like, what am I going to do? I'm never going to come back. Like you mentioned, the confidence not only you had in Dr. Buhler, but he gave you in yourself, get back out there. Like don't take any time off. Like, let's rebuild that muscle. Like, what a relieving feeling to when the injury happens to be like, I'm going to be okay.
Come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, not worry so much.
And what I found with the work too is if I had built myself to this level and I broke myself and I was down here, if I got everything firing, like I could get to that level quickly. It wasn't like I lost it. It's there and it's been built. You just have to like reignite it essentially. I one other thing that I would really like to dive into that, and it's through mistake. My ACL, MCL, PCL lateral compartment, I had a hamstring graft, and it's never come back. My hamstrings were so strong. I could ham curl more than anybody on the team, and that was my powerhouse. Yet I took from it to repair my knee when I think I should have had some sort of cadaver instead of taking from my own body. My next knee, I just did ACL and I did a quad tendon graft, and my quads aren't my powerhouse, and I have no issue with that anymore. But it's still, when I do a leg extension, it's not as strong as the other side, but the difference in the hamstring is substantial. And to take away from your powerhouse, you should not do, in my opinion. But I also think, I think you should stick with a cadaver instead of taking from your own tissue and weakening who you are. So if you do that and you integrate this work, I believe everything will come back to where it used to be versus limiting your height by taking from your own tissue. I'm not articulating this that clearly, but that's it would be a very, very interesting study. Everybody thinks that a cadaver has a higher re-rupture rate, but the re-rupture rate is high due to the lack of muscle function, in my opinion. So if your muscles are firing and everything is balanced, the re-rupture rate would be very low.
I know you mentioned your career-ending hand injury, but in terms of regimen and what you're doing today, how do you feel? What are you doing? Are you still, I assume you're still skiing.
I'm skiing a ton. I do all kinds of stuff around the house. I'm dealing with my daughters, which is great.
I'm the babysitter.
This summer, I built a backyard for them, and I basically hauled 100 railroad ties into the backyard and built this wall, and I dug it by hand. I backfilled it by hand because you couldn't get a machine in there. Basically had to build a road. So I was like, I'll just do this all by hand. It was a lot of work, but I enjoy it, and my body felt fine doing it. Going back to the hand, the whole point of that was the silly thing that killed my career was the hand, and it wasn't like some big knee or whatever. Why I killed it was I was just over it. Like the whole point was I will come back. Like every time I hurt myself, I was like, I will come back. I will be fine. And I had so much energy. And then just that hand, I was in my mind, it was my last year anyway. And it was the first race of the year, and I destroyed my hand. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. It's been a long run, but I'm fine. And it just keeps on dumping snow in Utah. So I'm just going to ski some powder.
In terms of like community, and again, you have young daughters, and the goal and dream is everyone have access to AMIT. But as we raise kids in this new generation and this new movement forward of health and well-being, do you have any ideas on how to redirect kind of the future of health and make it more along the lines of everything you practice and preach?
I would say a lot of the stuff I learned, I'm trying to bring on them without them knowing. I try and cook them every meal I can, and I try and keep it as natural as possible. I put them in 0-drop minimalist shoes, wide toe box, like these kids. It was funny. My wife bought some little Sauconys. That's what she grew up in. And we were hiking the other day, and my daughter kept rolling her ankle. She's 4. And I'm like, we kept rolling over, and she'd just pop up and keep going. And I'm like, that's not good. and she's the athletic one, my clumsy one. I put in minimalist shoes just because it helped her. And so now I put my daughter in the zero drop wide toe box shoes, and she's just out there ripping. And so I feel like it will be and maybe they're like my little test subjects, but will be interesting to see them grow up with this from a ground level instead of me adapting this at 20, 30 years old, it's having them start from zero. I feel like there's a bunch of technology that we can integrate if they become ski racers. Let's say we can integrate into ski boots. We can have custom made 3D printed ski boots that aren't inhibiting our natural function. We can ground our material somehow. Like, I don't know if there's a way to put a wire up that's whenever you click and you're binding it, like connects and keeps you grounded as you're skiing around all day. That gives you more energy throughout the day. That's another thing. I mean, I got that from Lance Armstrong in 06, but I've been sleeping grounded since back in the day.
I've been using a lot of different methods with my kids, and at first they, you just do it when they're little, but now they're starting to ask for the AMIT work. I love the aspect of the AMIT work that it gives input to your brain, because I feel like the kids, like, they are so much more grounded in their bodies in the sports that they're doing. It's a noticeable difference. So I don't think there's anything better than achieving your full potential, right?
Mm-hmm. Maximizing people's potential is something that I like to think about a lot. Like, just give people the opportunity. So many people are ready to give up and to throw in the towel because they've been dealing with this pain for so long, or they've been dealing with this indigestion, or they've been dealing with some sort of thing that I believe can most likely be fixed with human touch, guided human touch.
And people may not even know their full potential because they've never reached it, or again, they're kind of living in this limbo of what they think is their full potential.
Mm-hmm. And they believe what they're taught. Like, they're not willing to branch out, or it's a waste of money or something. I'm a hack at AMIT. Like, it takes me a lot longer than it takes you, Molly. But
it sounds like you're pretty well trained.
I just find that, like, when I'm driving down the street and I see somebody with this like hitch in their step, I'm like, oh, can I just like pull over, whip out the table, and see if I can fix you? It seems like that would stress a true practitioner out. Is what I'm saying. Like, if you see that around, you're probably like, oh man, I'd like to really help you, but I got this thing to do over here instead. But it is a wonderful thing, because if this can be exposed broadly to the world, I feel like we can solve so many problems.
So many problems. And I think it's actually like an exciting time right now, because I feel like there's a lot of professional athletes who are seeking out not only the AMIT work, but other amazing things on their own. Maybe their teams don't support it, but they're seeking it out on their own, and they're having like the success you had and the ski team, and they're having that level of success in their sports. So I think it's an opportunity, like there's an opening right now for people to listen to, what has helped people and what has changed their life. And so I don't know, it seems like you have such a wealth of information, like could really help a lot of athletes.
I agree. And that's a passion of mine, giving people the opportunity to experience sport. I feel like sport creates strong humans naturally, but once within sport, to really maximize your abilities, that's integral. If that's the avenue you really want to pursue, like, you're going to need something like this, and you're going to need to learn to think outside the box and learn to create your own program that works for you. I never, so this is wild, but I never took anything for my allergies throughout my career due to like doping stuff. And now that I'm done, I was like, oh, I'll do algae shots. This is going to help me. I started taking them, and it crumbled me. And I'm so glad I didn't do this during my career, but it destroyed my body. Like, it overloaded my liver, my back went out. I got off. So the way they go through it, they have like 1,000-1 ratio to 100-1 to 10-1, and they just kind of like tear it up. When I got bumped up to 10-1, I was just skiing around and my back went out. And so I thought, okay, I'll do the rehab, get some work done by Buell's, and we're good. And I got all this work done, and I went and got another shot the next week. I came home, was doing some stretches, and I stepped off the table and I couldn't even load my spine. And I realized it was the shots at that point that were destroying me. My arms, I had these big bingo wings. They were like all flabby and like swollen from them injecting. And I went in there and I was like, is there any chance that the shots can make your back go out, can kind of overload your system? And the lady's like, no, I've never heard of that before. And she pulls up my charts. She's like, you are allergic to so much stuff. I got the whole prick thing. 90% of the stuff they pricked me with, I was allergic to. And 90% of the stuff that I was allergic to was level 5, the highest level. Like, I'm pathetic. I love the winter because I feel like a god, because there's like, I'm not allergic to all this stuff. So anyway, that really was wild to experience and to think, okay, that is me. That's what I've been given, and that's what I have to work with. And so this AMIT work is really taught me a lot about myself and how to navigate life. And that's what's so powerful about it, is it helps you individualize yourself. You're not just part of some system.
Well, and again, and that goes, we always go back to like, trust your gut, and like, you know yourself better than anyone, and you have to like kind of follow your instincts and do what's right for you. You did mention that, again, you found this wealth of knowledge and things that were helping you, and you went and shared them with a bunch of your teammates and stuff. Did you find that to be vice versa, or are a bunch of people amongst the athletes sharing tools and tricks they find, or do they kind of keep it on the down low?
Some do, some don't. Some have their little things that work for them, or they find it an advantage. Some like wouldn't even touch this work, even though I knew it would help them. It was really funny, and that's whatever. It's fine. At least they had the opportunity, you know.
Kind of wrapping up here, finally, is kind of, you look ahead, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave for the next generation of athletes and even kids and whatnot moving forward?
I always looked at ski racing as every run, every training session, every race is a different puzzle, and you have to figure out that puzzle. And life's that way. You have to figure out your own puzzle. And to be able to be less selfish for myself in my performances, and to now shed my wisdom onto others is really motivating to me and inspiring to me. And so if I can create new products, or allow people to maximize their potential by just talking with them and helping guide them, that's fantastic to me. So I'm going to stay in the sport and in sport as much as I can. A lot of my thoughts, a lot of my ideas revolve around sport and skiing. So to dabble in that world and to help people in that world is probably going to be my next chapter.
I have a lot of ideas for you. Just listening to you, because I mean, there's so many kids to positively affect, right? They don't always get this level of support.
One thing I look at in ski racing is there's so much time that's wasted. Like typically we go to a ski camp and we ski all day, and then at the end of the day we talk about how you skied, and then we fix it the next day. It's like, let's do that every run. Let's teach kids and athletes to focus on what they're doing. Like, it doesn't have to be this like super intense thing that like everybody's so serious. It's just like when you have intention to do something, like really focus on it and be conscious of what you're trying to do, where you are, who you are, what's surrounding you, what's influencing you, and and communicate your intentions. That's a strong thing too. Like really communicate what you are trying to achieve, what you want, what are your long-term goals, your short-term goals, and build a team around you. Don't be afraid to state it. Don't be afraid to tell your coaches, like, I want to be the best. I want to get a college scholarship. Like, whatever you want, put it out there so we can help you get there. And that's what I learned is once I express myself, that made that movement, that made my goals, my intentions that much more powerful than just holding it inside and being afraid to put it out there due to failure. Like, just put it out there and people will rally behind you and people want to help and people want to see you reach the highest you. And when you do, my greatest time on tour was I had 4 podiums in a row. No American man has ever done that in downhill. And that was because I created, it was dumb. It was a simple Google sheet that I put on all my coaches' phones and they could just tap on it and see, all right, these are my 2 to 3 focuses that day. This is what I thought about how I did and how am I going to fix it tomorrow. So they could just tap in and be like, all right, this is what Stephen's focusing on, instead of me going down and hearing 5 different things from 5 different coaches of what they thought. It's like, no, this is what Stephen's trying to create. These are the habits he's trying to make second nature. And let's just help him develop that to where he can just forget about that and move on to the next thing, instead of us just spreading everything around and actually not achieving anything. Once I got my team all on the same page and we were all moving in the same direction, stuff was so efficient and we were just crushing. And then when I was hitting those podiums, it was like everybody felt like they were a part of that energy and that win, which was so fun for me and the team to experience.
Through not only the AMIT method and some of the other work, and there's so many things now like cold plunging and saunas and brain-based work, but increasing the creativity and the consciousness in any aspect of your life, right? So like what you're talking about is like the creativity that you put into your sport. And I think that's what we have to foster. Everyone has a different expression or a different way of thinking about things. But if we can foster that for every single person, that creativity and their consciousness around their body, that's what it sounds like you learned, like through all your injuries, right? They're kind of like the blessings to overcome those injuries. And so I think that like really strengthening through those, perceived obstacles or weaknesses is where we can all grow in our life.
Don't be afraid. Like, really, don't be afraid. Here's a question for you. What is your greatest fear?
Snakes.
Simple, snakes. Well, you live a great life then.
Yeah. She's very happy.
I've overcome a lot of my other fears. Don't worry about that one.
The greatest fear, that even including snakes, what makes you afraid of snakes is it's the fear of not being good enough. And really understanding, like, all right, if I can really look at whatever situation I'm in and be like, okay, I feel like I'm not good enough. How do I fix that? And if you can just ask yourself that question, leading into whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, like, that's what's going to help you overcome those fears. And I forgot the point I was getting at with this, but hey, like that's the power of really looking at yourself, stepping back, reassessing yourself, having some sort of guidance, if it be through AMIT, if it be through a coach. That's what it's all about.
I'll flip that question back on you then. When did you realize that that's everyone's greatest fear, and when did you overcome it?
2010, I basically ran away and moved to San Diego, just trying to find something different, get out of Utah. And I trained there in the summer under this guy, John Adams. And he asked me that question. And it took me like 3 days to figure it out. We'd go on runs, we'd go work out, and he was just quizzing me, and I'd just come up with these answers and answers and answers, and until I figured it out. And then then we started attacking everything from there. But he was my trainer for that summer, and he died in a freak car accident. It was pretty wild, but he taught me a lot, and I'm forever grateful for John Adams.
It's true. A lot of people are the fear of failure, or the fear of not being good enough, resonates with a lot of us. And again, the sense of community, the sense of always trying and never giving up, kind of allows you to overcome that in a lot of ways. Well, Stephen, it's been so great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Centered Presents the Future of Health. If people are interested in following you or getting in touch with you, do you have any ways of doing so?
I'm on Instagram, Stephen_Nyman, I think. Same on Twitter. Feel free to DM me. And I just started a YouTube channel, The Stephen Nyman, I think it's called. I ran through the Alps last year. Not ran, but skied through the Alps. In 10 days, we went from Ischgl to Wengen to Engelberg, back to Ischgl to the Dolomites to Seefelden to Kitzbühel, like basically sandwiching the two classic World Cup downhills. And we're shooting Spider's 25 line and Fisher's 25 line during that time. We just documented it, and I'm trying to put it all out on YouTube, and it's a lot of fun. But I think that channel also may turn into more of an educational zone, to where I can talk about anything skiing. It could be technique or tuning, or it could talk about sports psych stuff, mental fortitude. We'll see where it goes, but it's something I started up this summer, and it'll be a lot of fun to work on that.
No, it's very cool.
Sounds
We look
amazing.
forward to seeing where it goes as well.
Thank you so much.
Well, right on. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Centered Presents the Future of Health. If you're interested in learning more, please visit us at drmollybrown.com or email us at media@drmollybrown.com.